Hello everybody, welcome to this replay cast from the Asteroid Belt Tournament. This is a match from week number 1 featuring MrCubez, Ichbineinkonto, Jimbob the Mighty, and Deviruchi. I'm Philothanic. This is on the old Asteroid Belt patch during the tournament, so there are some bugs in this replay that are not present in the current game, and I'm also casting with UE Plus mod, which allows me to do things like zoom all the way out and give a few other nice quality of life features. So we are on IO, we have expansive scavengers, nomads, and elites available. What is this colony? It is a glass colony, so silicon and basalt will be interesting. I'm going to look at all the basalt ice here around here, and there's pretty much no carbon whatsoever, so there will be no scavengers. We have Deviruchi going for a nomad quite early.
A nomadic HQ has been
on IO, you can found a lot later than other planets, given that there's usually a lot of resources available. Jimbob putting down the first nomadic HQ down there, and over here, right over here next to some ice and aluminum. Good choice there. Deviruchi, not as close to the ice as you would like, probably, especially since you're going far for this aluminum found right next to this ice, so you don't have to ship it. There's not enough silicon, I think, because silicon does diminish on IO. MrCubez going for a expansive start. I kind of like this found right here, going for the basalt platform. The only problem they might have is the aluminum situation. Ice is close enough, but we shall see how that goes. And then Konto going for the last nomad over here with plenty of iron. Slant drilling using the caves onto Jimbob's silicon, so that will go even quicker. The only problem with Konto, okay, there's plenty of ice there, so no real problems there that we would say. Jimbob, the first upgrade to HQ2, followed by MrCubez, then Deviruchi. You have some stealing of this elemental quarry by Konto. No, I'm sorry, Jimbob stealing Konto's elemental quarry. That's going to hurt quite a lot. What do we have that is worth money right now? Hopefully we see some players moving into fuel. Fuel does a spike right around this time. Let's see, what did Jimbob move into? Jimbob moved into lots of aluminum in order to get this upgrade quite high. Moving into some ion collectors right now. Good choice. Ion fuel is increasing and nobody is in it. I don't see anybody else moving into ion collectors. Okay, Konto has one. Moving into some ice. And then MrCubez over here moving into double nuclear plants. That should be a good move for MrCubez, as they will be able to pay off their debt, I would expect, off of this decent power price, but it is falling rapidly. Deviruchi at HQ3 also moving into some nuclear plants, but water is going to be a problem soon. Something that MrCubez is going to have to worry about also. The Jimbob going for a geothermal plant, just wants to make sure that MrCubez doesn't earn too much money off of that power, while paying down, keeping Jim's debt from spiraling out of control. Did go into a second ion collector, and now we do have everybody in ion collectors, I would or at least a good amount of people in ion collectors. That price fell far more rapidly than I would expect, given we only have 3 ion collectors on the map, plus 1 inefficient ion collector from the colony. So that's a little bit unexpected, but what that does mean is water is quite good, and we see anybody moving into water right now? The answer is yes. Deviruchi here going for triple water processors, making use of that really cheap fuel price, earning a good deal of money right there. Now, the only problem with water is the cost of oxygen, and Deviruchi doesn't quite have enough oxygen to completely cover all of their water. But for the moment, it seems to be fine. MrCubez is deciding to ignore water and just go straight into some farms, realizing that the market water is quite full, but farms is something, food is a market that nobody else is in right now. Good job to MrCubez identifying that Deviruchi is going to be the first HQ4 off of this strong water play, which is decreasing rapidly in the amount of profit that these buildings are getting due to this oxygen increase, but that can be easily solved for Deviruchi by building another solar condenser, and Deviruchi does so. We do have a bunch of solar condensers out on the map. I believe everybody has a solar condenser. Jim Bob moving into some farms as well, and some glass. Good profit from these glass kilns right here. Hologram for Kanto. We do have a tile that is currently being auctioned right next to these warehouses, which gives it 20% launch bonus. 28k to Jim Bob the Mighty. Let's check the Offworld market right now. Not that good this early in the game. I'm sold to only 23k profits on steel. So it's going to be a while before that tile is going to be useful for a Offworld market, but you can put down an optimization center or something like that. Also, Jim Bob HQ4 as well. We do have these two nomads that seem to be in the lead, and everybody else just a little bit behind. MrCubez electing to adrenaline boost their farms, and those are making quite the good amount of money. 244 per second is burning a lot of water, and that water price is creeping up quite rapidly. Kanto is building a patent lab. It'll be interesting to see what patents Kanto decides to target as a nomad. Nobody is in electronics, which, given 3 nomads, is a little bit surprising, considering all of them use electronics to upgrade. And we can see one of the benefits of UE+. We can see that Kanto is immediately moving into liquid batteries. Good choice, just wants to keep these solar condensers online throughout the night. Deviruchi's patent lab also up right now. We'll see what they decide to research, currently being unused. But Jim Bob has moved into quite the sizable lead. HQ4. Oh, I'm sorry.
The patent lab is ready to begin research.
Deviruchi is in the lead in cash on hand. Jim Bob is going into liquid batteries, but is going to lose that race. Doesn't know about Kanto's hologrammed patent lab over here, which looks like an ion collector. No spies have been bought. So Jim Bob's going to be in a rude awakening in about 25 seconds. Deviruchi going for transparent aluminum, wants to make the space elevators quite cheap. Construct transparent aluminum does replace glass with aluminum. Glass 200. Right now, aluminum 43. That will make the space elevators, which cost, I believe, 200 glass each. Unfortunately, this is where the replay bug is happening. We can't see how much it costs.
Expansive HQ has been upgraded.
Our expansive HQ finally up to HQ4, and then as is Kanto. Kanto definitely lagging behind over here as a nomad. You need to keep pace with the other nomads in terms of those upgrades. That expansive player going to be in a little bit of trouble. That was quite the risky upgrade. Doesn't have enough money to defend himself. And Deviruchi is going to go in hard. Deviruchi does look like they have the income. Well, they have enough cash on hand to almost make the price. Let's see if they have enough income. to seal the deal. It looks like they do. MrCubez is going to be taken out of the game in an early elimination buy. The question is, will Jim Bob or Kanto jump in on it? Kanto has barely enough money. Jim Bob struggling in a little bit in D debt. Going for nanotech, a pickup which I do like. Does have a bunch of their adrenaline boosted production frozen, but both electing not to go into MrCubez. So Deviruchi just waiting, I guess, and does seal the deal, knocking out MrCubez first. A very risky upgrade. Now Deviruchi is going to be in trouble. Perhaps Jim Bob deciding to start purchasing into Deviruchi. Deviruchi did not defend their stock whatsoever. Doesn't seem, let's check what's going on in terms of production. Wow, fuel is back through the roof in terms of the price. Deviruchi does not have the income that Jim has, and Deviruchi is going into a space elevator somewhere, which is a very bold move when you're being threatened with the majority buyout.
Congratulations!
Claim auction for Kanto for 24k. Quite reasonable. Kanto does need to get in on the buyout action, either by buying into Deviruchi or buying into some of MrCubez stock. Otherwise, I think if Jim Bob can make this purchase, Jim Bob is going to be in the driver's seat for the rest of the game and will probably win. Deviruchi does not have the income, needs to cancel the space elevator in order to have a chance at living, but Deviruchi going to fall to the majority buy right after majority buying out MrCubez. This gives Jim Bob quite the advantage in terms of stock price and income from those subs. As you can see, MrCubez already earning 300 a second as an expansive, and once the Deviruchi sub completes the space elevator, let's check a look at those profits. 32k a launch, so going to make some decent money off of that space elevator too. What Jim Bob needs to worry about in this game is debt. Needs to keep that debt under control. That is the one way that Kanto could come back, is taking advantage of this relatively cheap stock price. If Kanto can buy up enough stock in Jim Bob, while Jim Bob is still cheap in D+1 and not owning the 3 shares in himself, now D+2. It is possible that Kanto could come back. Unfortunately, Kanto is going to upgrade instead of continuing to buy into Jim Bob, but Kanto does have a lot of production here. Needs to buy as much into Jim Bob as Kanto can while Jim Bob is still cheap, relatively speaking, and or buy into the subs just to try to extend the game. And Kanto is choosing to buy into the subs, identifying that Deviruchi is the more profitable sub. Both of those options can extend the game, and with Jim Bob in all of a sudden D+6 after that $80,000 interest tick, Jim Bob's stock price is going to fall drastically. But MrCubez in a space elevator, Kanto with a patent lab that is not being used, needs to switch this into something that makes money. Jim with plenty of income from all of Jim's buildings over here. Look at all that income plus all that sub income. It is a little bit difficult to see how Kanto could come back, but there is a possibility. Kanto just needs to finish buying up into the rest of these 2 subs, try to drag the game out long enough so that Jim's debt continues
The hacker
to
array is finished.
lower down,
Time to change our passwords.
lower his price. And Kanto needed to do that before Jim bought all of Kanto's stock cheaply, so a little bit of a misplay there. That is making the buy onto Kanto far more likely, moving into geothermal borehole. Kanto even have a geothermal vent to use that on?
HQ has been upgraded.
Doesn't seem like it, so that's a very intriguing pickup. Jim Bob is going to put out a hack array and just start hacking, going to go into a glass shortage. Shouldn't be selling glass if they're going into glass shortage to get the most out of that hack, but Kanto is not in, Kanto's in a pair of glass, so that's not
Let the bidding begin.
completely bad of a hack. Yes, in order to win in this sort of situation, you do need to buy into your opponent fast, or if you have the income, more income than your opponent, or in this case, when your opponent owns 2 subs and both of them have Offworlds, and this one is completely out in the open, you need to buy into those subs to boost your own stock price. And then another thing you can do is subs don't defend their space elevators. So Kanto, with their A debt rating, could be mutinying the space elevator and getting the 24k launch profits for themselves instead of splitting the profits with Jim after buying into MrCubez. But both of these subs are not earning too much money, only 500 and 600
A nomadic HQ has been upgraded.
respectively, and then of course after upgrades those are going to go down, so the reason to buy into them is to increase your stock price before your opponent buys all the way into you. So, as we do have a race between both of these players in our hands, and we're just waiting to see who's going to earn more money to get to buy out the other person. We do see that Jim does have quite the lead on Kanto. It does look like it's going to be a victory for Jim Bob. So let's speed up the game to blazing and watch it to its conclusion as Jim does get the win. It will look like in a little bit. Kanto not reacting correctly to those 2 majority buys that happened in the game. Jim has the 100, takes out Kanto, takes the victory on a quite an interesting match with 2 majority buys. MrCubez getting quite greedy, quite aggressive with that upgrade to HQ4, not looking to see if anybody can majority buy themselves, and then Deviruchi going into that majority buy very hard. I like that aggression, but when you do go for that majority buy, you need to make sure that you have enough income to defend yourself from the counter majority buy, which Jim was able to pull off on the strength of all the production that Jim had. And then Kanto was left in the dust, had enough money when that majority buy happened to buy into either the subs or Jim, or preferably both. Chose to upgrade instead. Jim upgraded. Jim had the income advantage. Jim had the stock price share advantage, and that was the game. Let's take a look at the charts and graphs really quick. See if there's anywhere all that money was made. Kanto 65k in entertainment revenue. Jim 202k in dividend revenue, and that is a large part of the difference between Kanto and Jim. Although the difference between the 2 companies is not that much at the end of the day, you can just see where Jim's stock advantage came into play over Kanto. If Kanto had split some of that dividend revenue with Jim, we could be looking at a very different outcome. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this replay cast, hit that like button, subscribe, or leave a note in the comments. Philofenic signing out.